Hello YouTube, my name is Paul, hope you're all keeping well. Welcome back to another pickup video. Now, hopefully I've solved this zoom in problem with my camera. It's autofocused. I gave it a good finger and all of a sudden it's working. So by all accounts, put my finger on the screen and hold it there and it comes up with autofocus, like a lock or something. So yeah, hopefully I don't get this whole bloody zooming in thing going on. So that's a bit of good news. Now I'll do another varied pickup videos. I've still got a fair amount coming in for various different systems, so I'll stick with the same format as the last one. The only absentee is the Commodore 64, so I thought I'd save that for a different video. But I've got usual stuff: Atari 2600, Spectrum, Amstrad, Atari ST, Commodore Amiga, and a Sega Mega Drive. So yeah, I've gone a bit loopy on the Mega Drive up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've stopped. I thought, bloody, I've got an additional sort of 75, 80 games. That'll do for now. I can wait for a few more months before I continue with that. Spectrum's still coming in, but not as fast because the hit squads are drying up. But apart from that, I've been picking off a few Spectrum games here and there, but nothing too fancy really. Just pretty nostalgic games. The Amstrad is, as and when they turn up, bloody slow as ever at the minute, especially those ocean games. I bought one today. Again, that's probably the first one I've bought for about 2 months maybe. ST Amiga stuff I've been sat on for months, so at last I'm starting to go through those. So yeah, so I'll start off with the first batch of games, which are all from the Atari. First up, it's a game I'm not familiar with at all, and it wasn't until recently that I played it, but it was part of a bundle I bought back a few months ago for about 40 odd quid. In that bundle I think there was about 10 games, so it's quite a good deal really. And that's Crystal Castles, kind of in that new 2600 livery. Now again, this game reminds me a little bit of Pac-Man, in sort of more of an isometric view. Didn't seem particularly great, I've got to be honest. So I played it for a little while. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have got any history with this game, but I played it for about 5-10 minutes. And I got bored, I've got to say. Yeah, I'd rather stick with something like Miss Pac-Man, to be completely honest. But yeah, it's all in good condition and complete. That's the first game. Now next up are two games I'm more familiar with, especially from sort of back in the day really. The first one is a sequel, I think, to Centipede. Looks exactly like Centipede, just a bit more manic. And that's Millipede. Again in decent condition from the same bundle I got the last game and the next game. Nothing really to show you on the back. Very small screenshot there, but I'm sure you see some game footage in a minute. But I used to play this in my neighbour, literally my direct neighbour to where I used to live. She had an Atari Junior and quite a few games, and this was the game I played the most really. Even though I had an ST at the time, I always went back to playing this game, this or Centipede. Now the only difference really between this and Centipede is the fact you've got more going on. There's more enemies dropping down from the sky, more enemies coming from left to right. It's a bit more frantic, that's all I can say really, but it's a good game nonetheless. Something I will go back and play, because I really do like playing Centipede, to be honest. And the last game for the Atari is a game that, again, I remember playing it, but a very long time ago. I forgot it even got a release on the Atari console in the first place, and that's Mario Brothers. So yeah, cracking game. I've got this in Donkey Kong now from Nintendo's stable. I'm not sure how many Nintendo games made it over to the 2600, to be completely honest. But it's not a bad sort of platformer. It's only set across one screen. I have never got off the first screen, to be honest. But I did get used to the fact I had to sort of almost headbutt the platform to kill the enemy. It's a bit odd, but it's not a bad little game actually. It looks like a decent conversion as well. So I've got it on the Sinclair Spectrum, which is similar to this. And in fact, I think I prefer playing this to the Specky version. So I've got to be honest, those 3 games are from the same bundle, and it didn't cost me much more than about 4 quid each. So really chuffed to have those in the collection. I've managed to swipe another Atari game today, and it's a game that is renowned as being one of the best games on the platform. And that leaves me with about 2 or 3 games left to pick up. Which don't come up very often. I don't know if mine a 49er got a release in the PAL regions or just the NTSC area. It's a game I'm interested in getting, but again, finding that is bloody hard. So yeah, so hopefully, sort of in the next couple of months, I might have finally finished what I wanted to collect for the Atari 2600. Now next up, I've got go for the Amstrad stuff. So the Amstrad stuff is predominantly being made up at the minute of the Ocean Software games and GX4000 games that I'm picking back up that I sold off a couple of years ago just to raise some money really. for my project at the time, which was my Spectrum Ocean Games collection. So the first game I'll show you, or first two games I'll show you, are both GX4000 games. Now I've got a sizable bundle on the way, and out of that bundle there's about 3 or 4 more games to keep that I sold, which leaves me with just one left to pick up to have my 25 games set back. So I didn't regret selling them, because those games that I sold, apart from one, are quite easy to pick back up. For similar sorts of prices, they haven't really gone up or down, to be honest. It's only the desirable titles have actually gone a bit mental. Like recently seeing Mystical sell for £270. It's a bloody crap game, but there you go. So first up is one of the 2 tennis games, and that's Tennis Cup 2. But yeah, I did a video about 2.5 years ago of my GX4000 collection. So unfortunately, yeah, I'd had to sell a few bits and bobs off. This is not a bad looking tennis game, to be honest. I've probably said it before, but these games have a really strange aroma from the boxes. It always reminds me of a hospital. It's really strange. I can't explain it. There's no other game or any other format of game that smells similar. It's really odd. Yeah, so that one usually goes for about £20 to £25. It's not an overly expensive game, but it's a very good tennis game nonetheless. Next up is a game, again, goes for similar sort of money, maybe 20 to 30 quid this one, and that's Crazy Cars 2. Again, not a bad little game, nowhere near as good as number 3. I don't even think it's any better than the first one, to be honest. It's a nice little run around. But again, if you're not used to seeing what a GX4000 game looks like, it's pretty much it. You get a nice waft of A&E in your face. But yeah, it's nice to have those two back in the collection. They're not good games at all, but I kind of miss having that GX4000 set that I had. But yeah, that game I found particularly difficult. I sort of driving down the road, you've got to avoid obstacles, avoid the police, and sometimes it just gets a little bit too cluttered that you end up crashing a hell of a lot. Now the next one, I think I've shown before in a separate video, but not a pickup video. This particular game I'm after on floppy disk, but apparently it's really difficult to find on the Amstrad. I got it on a Spectrum, but I've had to make do with a cassette version of this. That's ADS Championship Football. Now I'm not sure if it got a release on floppy disk. I don't know. This particular box is in okay condition, and it is missing its soundtrack. I can't remember what the bloody song was called now. World in Motion, wasn't it? Yeah, cracking little tune. But yeah, I'm really pleased to pick it up. I picked it up when a guy listed like about 40 Amstrad games and said pick one for say €9.90. So I've done that, and I was really pleased to have it. Just because it's a flipping hard one to get hold of. The game itself's okay. I remember it got released late, missed the kind of World Cup period, so when it finally got a release on the Amstrad, it was almost too late really. So they kind of missed the boat. And I think the Spectrum version came out before and done relatively well, and the 64 version was quite good, and the 16-bit versions were cancelled altogether, which is a shame really. But yeah, really pleased to have it, only mostly because it's an obscurity rather than a decent game. So that's the Amstrad. Again, far and few between now. I'm going to slow right up, a bit like the Hit Squad. So next up is the Sinclair Spectrum. Now with the Spectrum, every time I find a +3 Ocean game, I don't keep going about Ocean games, but every time I find a +3 game or variant that's cheap, quite cheap, I pick it up. I'm not really one of these people that want to go toe-to-toe with +3 games, because they can go to 3 figures nowadays. But I've picked up 4 games. I'm going to show you 3 of them. All classics on the Spectrum. That one I'm not going to show you until next time. So the first one I got is a game I picked up quite recently on my Amstrad. That's Salamander. I do already have all these on the Spectrum on cassette, but I thought I'd pick it up. This was the more expensive one, I think. I think this was about 25, I want to say. Getting it complete in nice condition. I don't actually own a +3 computer anymore. I sold it quite a while ago. So I always thought there was a sound issue with it, but apparently that's quite normal for Sinclair Spectrum +3s, because they used a cheaper sound chip, or Amstrad did. That's Salamander. When I say a decent shoot 'em up on the Spectrum, probably not. It is bloody hard because the play area is very small compared to the arcade, so it makes it that bit more difficult. Next 2 games are Ocean classics. Both games done very well, received some critical acclaim, and probably 2 of my favourite games ever released. Period, I think. First up is none other than Operation Wolf. I just buy this game because I like playing it and I like showing it as well, so yeah, that's my excuse. But yeah, this was only like £5 something, and I think postage was £1.40, so call that £6.50, which is cheap actually for a Spectrum Plus 3 disc game. I don't have many. I think I've got about maybe a dozen Plus 3 disc games, but again, only if they come up cheap I'll pick them up. I don't know how many Plus 3 games came out under the Ocean label. I can't imagine there was many, because I think the Plus 3 didn't come out until 1987. So I think Salamander would have been quite an early release, really. So yeah, that was, like I said, £6.50, so nice and cheap. And the next one I think I picked up as well because it was listed for 10 quid. I thought it was not a bad price for the game that it is. That's Rainbow Islands, a really good conversion on the Spectrum. I've sort of spent a lot more time on this, and it does deserve probably more credit than I give it, to be honest. For a Sinclair Spectrum, it's a very, very good conversion. Now the box itself is in probably average condition, no more than a sort of 6 out of 10 really, but it's just nice to have it on Plus 3 disc. But yeah, a game I loved on my Atari ST, one of my favourite games of all time. So yeah, pleased to have it. But like I said, I already got it on cassette. Right. That's it for the 8-bit stuff as far as I'm aware. So next up, nice bit of 16-bit. So I've got quite a few ST and Amiga games still to show you, and obviously those that significant pile of Mega Drive games. But I want to be quite selective with those because some of the games I've got aren't very good games really, to be honest. So first up on the Atari ST, I've got a game which I've watched Baz Harding play quite recently. He actually got himself off the first level. Now, I think I've only been off the first level once or twice in the last sort of 30 years really, and that's Nebulous. Very good Houston game. Again, this was relatively cheap. I think it may have been between 5 and 10 quid. But I picked it up because my good friend Sam had this on his ST. It holds a lot of great memories really. It's a good game in itself, it's just hard. And if you're not, I suppose if you're not patient at all, it can prove to be quite difficult. You've got to sit there and time things like pretty precisely. Comes with the old booklet and a disc, as you would expect. I think my friend had this originally as part of a silica pack that he got over an Atari ST. But yeah, that's that. I think I've got it on the Amiga. No, I haven't, so I don't. Very identical to the Amiga version anyway. Now next up is a game I bought, I think it was the third game I ever bought on my Atari ST, and it was a conversion of an arcade cabinet that I absolutely loved. And I did like my street brawling games actually in the arcade, and that's Vigilante. Again, I've had 3 copies of this. They get to the menu screen, then you sort of push the button to play the game, I guess, and it seizes up. So I'm not sure if it's because I've got a meg of RAM in the machine or what, but 3 copies I've had of this now, and all 3 do exactly the same thing. So this one is the the inlay's on the inside. The instructions are on the inlay, I should say. So yeah, I keep thinking I'm missing the instructions. This particular copy comes on 2 discs, which is pretty normal, I think. I think that's how it came. I think the Kicks re-release, which was the first one I bought, comes on 1 disc. And for some reason, this second copy that I've had for a while now, you just get the 1 disc. So I'm assuming it's missing disc 2. But yeah, either copy that I load up, don't seem to want to play, which is a shame. But it's a decent, when I say decent conversion, I'm probably lying. It's an okay conversion, a bit juddery and a bit slow in the ST, but the Amiga version is better simply because it's smoother and a bit faster. But none of them are as good as the arcade, unfortunately. And last but not least on the Atari ST is a classic platformer. I'm sure Glory Hunter will appreciate this one. Bubble Bobble. Again, this was dirt cheap. This used to go for about 20-30 quid not long ago. You can probably pick it up for less than £10. I've got a feeling my copy is incomplete. Again, I'm talking out my arse because the instructions are there, staring me in the face. The disc always looks a bit sus because it's not really got a decent label on it, but I'm pretty sure it's the original. But yeah, really pleased to have it in the collection, as you can imagine, because it's a very good platformer. The SD version is really good. But not a lot better than the Spectrum version, to be honest, because that was a cracking conversion in itself. So that's the 3 I'm going to show you for the Atari ST. I do like these plastic case games. I've got quite a few of these now to show you. especially games from Atari. So I didn't realise games like Solomon's Key and that got released on the ST. Roadrunner, Gauntlet, all games in these little plastic cases, which are pretty cool. Games that I remember vividly looking at the Atari ST screenshots in Sinclair User magazine thinking, bloody hell, wish I had that piece of kit. Right, next up, the Commodore Amiga. Again, 3 games I've sat on for quite some time. 3 games I'm more familiar with, again, on the Sinclair Spectrum than I am on the 16-bit systems. Now, the first one is a game I've seen sell for over £100. And sometimes it goes for sort of 30, 40 quid. I think I bought mine with a group of games. I think I picked up about 4 or 5 games for the same seller. He listed this one and the sequel together. I think it may have cost me about 80 quid. So I'm not sure I got a good price or not. It was not £100, which is great. And £80 for 2 games isn't too bad, but it's probably a little bit more than it may go for nowadays, to be honest. And that's Sidewinder. Again, I remember not having this. I remember seeing this in Sinclair User. Looked like a decent game, but to be honest with you, on the Amiga, it plays really well. It looks basic, but it plays, yeah, I'm quite impressed with it. Some decent music, decent sound effects, silky smooth scrolling. I've got to be honest, I was pleasantly surprised with this one. But yeah, it doesn't come with much inside the box, just a floppy disk. And it's amazing. It's probably one of the more expensive Mastertronic games I've ever seen, to be honest. So yeah, really pleased to get it. Again, did I get a bargain? Probably not. It went through a phase. It used to go literally for about £100 a time. So I'm pleased to get that in the collection. Got myself quite a few 16-bit shooters on sort of the ST and Amiga recently as well. So next up is not a shooter. Again, a game I remember really well on the Sinclair Spectrum. The graphic style reminds me a lot of Batman the Caped Crusader. It's got that kind of cartoony strip. And when this came up for 10 quid, I snapped it up because it very rarely comes up for the Amiga. And that's Pink Panther. Again, I've never played it. Even getting some footage for this video, I couldn't get the game to load beyond the first couple of screens. So I haven't actually had the chance to play it. It does work. I've tried it on my Amiga. This must have been about 6 months ago now, though. But even the Amstrad version, if you can see the Amstrad version, it looks just like the SD version. It's Amstrad. But yeah, it looks great. The Amiga version looks identical to the ST, but I've got no idea what you do. It's strange, you start off, you go to, you've probably seen the video footage anyway, you go to the job centre to get a job, the guy questions you why you're not dressed smartly, you go to the shop to buy a top hat, you've got no money, then I go off to actually play the game and it crashes, so unfortunately I can't get anywhere in it. It seems like it might be a decent little game, and sometimes it reminds me a little bit of like Spy versus Spy. Right, next up is another game I didn't realise got an Amiga release. I think Ash 81beforeYou's got a copy of it. It's the first time I actually realised it got an Amiga release, and it very rarely comes up. I've got a feeling I got this from Ireland. I'm pretty sure it set me back about £35, but again, it's been about at least 6 months ago that I picked it up. And that is Hate. Have you ever played Viewpoint before? Kind of that style of graphics. I won't say it's as good as Viewpoint, to be honest. But it's not a bad game. I remember it again, getting some great reviews in Sinclair User magazine. I played about 2 levels of it. The first level you're in the plane, the second level you're actually on the ground, in the ground vehicle. It's a decent game, plays very smoothly. It's not particularly a fast and frantic shooter, but I liked it nonetheless. I mean, £35 for it, I don't know if that's a good price or not, for a game that you very rarely see. One floppy disk. For some bizarre reason, I got 2 instructions. I got one there and I got one there. So unless one of them's an addendum or might come out of an 8-bit cassette version, I don't know. But I'm really pleased to have it. It's a decent little shooter, I've got to say. But it's an obscure game. I do have a tendency to, when I see an obscure game, I just want to have it because I've never seen it before. I tend to go into Hall of Light then and do a bit of research just to find out about the game, really. But like I said before in previous videos, the really early Amiga titles are really hard to come by, whereas on the ST it's the opposite way around. It's more like the late titles, because people tended to sell their STs off, didn't they? Sort of early 90s, really. But yeah, some cracking games there. Really pleased to have those in the collection. So Amiga wise, again, I've got quite a bit left to show you, but I'll keep ploughing through those as and when I get to them, really. But pickup wise for the Amiga, I am after getting a full top 100 set for the final magazine, which I actually picked up the last magazine quite recently for the Amiga Power Top 100. which is an absolute git to find. But yeah, once I got all the 100 games, or once I got the sort of 100 to 90 games, I'll start doing a video where I go through each game individually. So rather than do the top 100 videos like I've done them, be a lot more interactive really, because be interesting to see what your opinion is. And when I do the top 100 video, it'd be the last magazine, so it'd be all the best, you'd assume, Amiga games released. So yeah, next up then is Sega Mega Drive. So speaking of Amiga, an Amiga classic. I remember selling this one. Didn't regret it because I got it on the CD32 and I got it in the Amiga as well. So when I sold it, it wasn't the end of the world. But I forgot it can be quite expensive. I think this one set me back 30 quid or 35 quid, and that's the Chaos Engine. Again, I didn't realise how good this game was on the Mega Drive. The Amiga's obviously where it's at. The Mega Drive conversion, I've got to say, including the music, is bloody good. In lovely condition inside. So really pleased to have this back in the collection. But playing it with the Mega Drive pad just makes the game a little bit more easier in my opinion, because the one button method is a bit of a pain in the arse. But yeah, I really do like this game. I'm not very good at it. I can get to the second world, I think, whatever that is. After 4 levels you go to the second world, I can't remember, on the Amiga. But I've got to about stage 3 on this, and then I just stopped because I didn't really have the time. So I had to make this video. But yeah, pleased to have it back in the collection. Not a difficult game to get, but obviously quite desirable because of the game it is. Now the next two are more cutesy, I suppose, not up my street. Both blue spines, both cartoon characters, both platformers. Both games I'm not really that fussed about, I've got to say. First up is Garfield Caught in the Act. I remember having Garfield years ago on my Sinclair Spectrum. Big fat hairy deal. Used to love that name. This game I played for a little bit just to get the footage. Seems quite straightforward, but every now and then you keep falling in a bloody hole, don't you? But again, condition wise, apart from the bloody blue spine carts, which keep doing that thing with the actual label, they peel off, don't they? The manual's really nice. But yeah, so again, pleased to have this. This one I think was around the £20 mark, I think. Might have been slightly more, slightly less. I'm sure it's around sort of 20 quid, which is about the going rate for Garfield Caught in the Act. So yeah, not a great game. It does look really good though. Graphics are pretty cool. In Double Trouble. So I'm walking around the platforms and I've got a flipping Daffy Duck chasing me around. And you try and glue him up with a bit of glue. So I'm not quite sure what to do, to be completely honest. Again, this was around the £20, £25 mark. I should really check up, to be honest, but it's around that sort of level. In good condition. I wouldn't say it's mint. At least the blue spine cart is actually complete, as in not peeling away. And the manual's in decent condition. Yeah, I've got a list of about 25 Mega Drive games I want to pick back up again. Which are all the games that are classified as rare or very rare in the Retro Collect, yeah. So once I've got them again, I'm pretty much done with the Mega Drive, unless I go for a full set. Again, that is something I'm not that fussed about, to be honest. Be nice to do it because I can do it. I suppose that's the only reason why I would justify doing that, because yeah, I've got most of the big titles anyway, all the big titles anyway. But is that a good enough excuse? Probably not. Yeah, so that's it. So yeah, I'm hoping this actual video footage doesn't come out all wavy like it has done the last sort of 5 or 6 videos I've done. It's only because I've changed my phone and I'm not really someone to sit down and read through loads of bloody instructions, because I find it a bit boring, to be honest. Doesn't really interest me like that. I should really, because otherwise it would save people getting headaches and complaining about my videos, so that's not what I want to be doing really. So yeah, hopefully it's fixed. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, I've been picking up a few magazines. I've got all bar 2 Amiga Power magazines now. I think I'm missing like the 4th and 5th to last magazines. I've just picked up some more Zero magazines, which I think may only leave me with 2 more. Zero's a multi-format magazine. Not a particularly popular one, but I did like it back in the day. Been picking up a few Sinclair users here and there, but apart from that, it's business as usual really. Hit squad wise, it's just nothing much happening whatsoever. But that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. And I'll see you guys again real soon. So take care and bye for now.